Well, it's a view you all ought to be familiar with by now. Doing a little shooting today. Nothing in particular I want to accomplish. I have a couple things I want to kind of look at, check. But you know the drill. Guys, there's some guys downrange getting their targets now. Got my target set up at 100. I'm going to set my chronograph up too here when they get back. And today I'm going to shoot Franz. You've seen Franz before. This is Hans, the private series brother, Franz, the private series. And obviously, as you can imagine, being a private series, it's a pretty darn nice K31. But so I just want to take some shots with it. I've kind of loaded up a little bit of a different load for K31. I just want to give it a try. So we're going to get to doing some shooting. I got to do some bore sighting on it first. I had the sights off, put them on obviously another rifle that I was testing. Put them on here, so I got to re-bore sight it, and then we'll see if we can't get to doing some shooting. And you guys know the rest of it. All right. Well, here we go, guys. I'm going to take some shots with Franz here. One little thing I'm kind of curious of. I've got some hand loads here that I loaded before, and they shot very well. These are the Hornady 178 grain ELDX bullets. I've got them loaded with 47 grains of Reloader 17. And when I shot these rounds out of my Steyr, my CISM Steyr, they generated very good accuracy, but they were only about 2,450 foot a second. Just as a matter of reference and comparison, I saved a few of them because I want to take a couple of shots with it out of a K31. Now this K31, this is a private series. And I do believe this was assembled basically as a as a custom build. One, because of the trigger. The trigger is not mil spec. It's about probably, I give it probably a pound lighter than a mil spec trigger. Very smooth, very crisp. But the chamber on it, the headspace on it is 1" 796. And I know from experience that the private series K31s, almost without exception, the other ones I've had, even some Hammerly custom builds, they have a chamber size of 1" 800, which is the minimum side of a go gauge on a Forester go gauge is 1" 800. And of course, the shoulder on a piece of GP11 brass is back. They put it back to 1" 790. So this chamber's been tightened up a little bit. It obviously was intended to shoot GP11 ammunition. So anything I put in it, I have to be careful that it'll chamber properly. But and so I've checked these because my Steyr has a tight chamber also, so I know it'll work in this one too. Like I say, another thing I just realized, sometimes it slips through the cracks. This is a dirty rifle. Normally I try to clean them shortly after I shoot them, I take them home and clean them, maybe within the next day or two, but somehow this one slipped through the cracks. It didn't get cleaned. You know how it is when you get old. Your memory gets short, among other things. And so anyways, I suppose we'll have to give it a good dose of cleaning when I get done today, but it's not going to do it any harm. Generally, a dirty rifle to me is one of these. This probably has probably less than 20 rounds through it since I last cleaned it. So anyways, here we go. Did a bore sight on it. Let's see where this first shot will go. Nice, I got the range so far to myself. And by the way, this is in NNY brass, commercial brass, not reloaded GP11 brass. 2637. That's considerably different than what it was coming out of my Steyr at. That's a couple of hundred, almost a couple of 100 feet difference. So we are looking at 3 inches to the left. So I need to go right about 3 inches. I'm going to take that first shot, being the rifle's already been fouled. I'm going to take that first shot as being somewhat of a pretty good indicator. Okay, I gave it 12 clicks of windage to the right, and I think that should be about 3 inches. But we're going to find out here right about now. Has a nice trigger. Nice trigger. Believe it or not, that little bit lighter trigger makes quite a bit of difference. And 2622. That is directly to the right of my first shot, almost exactly what my clicks designated. I'd give it about 2.5 inches to the right from my first shot, so that's good. I am going to try one more shot here. It's in the 10 ring, so I'm going to leave it where it's at for now. .2603. That is basically touching my second shot, which means it's still a little bit to the left. I'm going to give it a couple more clicks. To the right. This load shot very well out of my Steyr, and unfortunately I don't have any more of these with me, so I'm just kind of curious to check velocities, but the velocity is considerably different than out of my Steyr. You guys give me some speculation on what that is. They both have basically the same length of barrel. 2600. It looks like that basically holds my second shot. So just a little bit to the right of it, though, halfway. So I don't know. That's pretty good, I think. That showed me that the my windage adjustments actually worked the way they were supposed to. To this, I still am somewhat amazed when they do that. Now next, up on the profile is these are what I consider K31 Plinking ammunition. And this is some Hornady 150 grain full metal jacket on top of 47 grains of 40 IMR 4064. And just so you know, I have these seated roughly 25 thousandths off the land. Same with the last load. I think that's generally where I seat them, about 25 thousandths off of the lands. So let's try one of these. I expect this will be probably... Oh, and by the way, this is... because of my previous experiment where I was pulling the projectiles out of GP11 and loading them into my 30-06 for testing them to see how those projectiles work out of a different caliber, which they did very well. I had 50 GP11 cases, unfired cases. So I reloaded them with the Hornady 150 grain full metal jacket and the 47 grains of IMR 4064. Never fired brass though. So I know these will fit in the chamber. Must taste good or something. about like a fired piece of GP11 brass there. 2820. That's basically just right underneath that a little 3-shot group I got going on the left side of the 10 ring. Give it a few more clicks of right. See if we can't get this thing over into the bullseye. .28-25. You know, I think that's pretty darn good. When you can take an old geezer like me with horrible eyesight, put some open diopter sights on it, and shoot like it's shooting. That in and of itself is a testimony to these rifles. These things are absolutely spectacular. .28-64. I like that. That'd be a darn good cartridge. Out to 300 yards probably. It's putting them right there. Right there, it's still messing with that same spot. It's good though, I'm not complaining. That is good. .28-30. Pretty consistent as far as velocities go. Alright, there you go. That one came over a little bit. .28-39. I have to watch the video, because that one I think is going through one of those other holes there. Take one more just to make it a 10 shot. 10 shots on paper down there. Come on, orange. .28-22. I do believe I cut a piece of orange on that one. You know what? This rifle's always been really, really accurate, even for a K31. You know, damn. I mean, look at it, man. It's beautiful. What a beautiful piece of walnut. Beautifully crafted. I love these things. Well, here's 10 shots, of course, 2 different loads. That was my very first shot off of a bore sight, so that I don't take that one as being one to be counted, but it's still a pretty good shot off of bi-eye bore sight, huh? And I got 3 other rounds right there with the 178 grain Hornadies. And then 150 grainers, it was still over here, and then I held off a couple of rounds trying to get a piece of orange, and my last shot right there I got orange right there. So that's not too bad. So put up some new paper and shoot the Gruning. Well, as you can see, we got Mr. Gruning out here again. And I need to get this thing lined up a little bit. This might be a little convoluted to try to explain, but I'll try. Now this kind of goes back to the experiment I was doing with pulling GP11 projectiles out of GP11 ammunition, and kind of just dissecting them and trying some of those projectiles out of my 30-06 Gruning, and they shot very well. I like them. I wish I could get some of those bullets just by themselves. But at any rate, my assumption was that I was assuming that the GP11 load had 49 grains of reloader 17 in it. And the reason for my to say that is one, to put the two powders, the powder that is in a case, a GP11 piece of ammunition, and put it right next to some reloader 17 powder, the two look identical. And then of course, I'm looking at the amount of powder at 49 grains. I saw what kind of velocities they generate out of a K31. And taking that into account, I kind of figured that the burn rate on it was in the 4350 range, reloader 17 range. And then I went and got some reloader 17, which I've used before in other rounds. It's good powder. And most of the reloader powders, they say made in Sweden, okay? Except for, like, I've noticed, like on 10X, it says proudly made in the United States, USA. But on the reloader 17, it says made in Switzerland. So, given the things that I was observing, I kind of assumed that the GP11 ammunition was loaded with reloader 17 powder. But when I went, so what I've done here is I wanted to take and load some cases for my 30-06 Gruning with GP11 powder, which is what this is, 55 grains of GP11 powder. And then I loaded up some with some reloader 17. And here's where it gets a little bit deeper. I wish I had thought of checking this before, but it didn't occur to me until I actually saw it. When I set my powder measure to meter out 55 grains of GP11 powder, of course, and then I took and without changing the powder measure at all, I put reloader 17 into it, so it has the same. I'm putting the same amount of volume of powder into the powder measure. If you're following me so far. But when I weighed it with the same volume of powder as the GP11 powder, the weight increased by 2.4 grains. That's almost 5% difference. So that tells me that although the powder in a GP11 ammunition might be very similar to reloader 17, I don't believe it could be exactly reloader 17, because reloader 17 is obviously a denser powder. And so I loaded 6 rounds with GP11, I loaded 6 rounds with reloader 17 and 55 grains of it, which means I had to close my powder measure off a little bit. And then, which is the same volume-wise as the cases I loaded with 55 grains of GP11 powder. So the volume is a little bit less on the 55 grains of reloader 17. And then as another comparison, I moved the powder measure back out so that it reloads 57.4 grains of reloader 17, which is the same volume that is taken up in the powder measure as the GP11 powder. So obviously the reloader 17 powder is just a little bit denser than whatever kind of powder they use in the GP11. So anyways, I'm curious now. I just want to see that I've done it. I want to see how it runs as far as accuracy and all that monkey business. So what I am going to do is, unfortunately, I don't need my spotting scope, and I don't need a black shooting C down range. because I can see everything with my government model, Springfield Armory government model scope. And you guys, if you ever get an opportunity to lay your hands on one of these guys, do it. They're still not cheap, but excellent scopes. They're not made anymore. Okay, this is my first shot. This rifle is clean. I cleaned it this morning. This is 55 grains of GP11 powder on top of, or below, underneath, Hornady 178 grain ELDX bullets. And I have these seeded to 15 thousandths, 0.015 thousandths off the lands. So let's turn my chronograph on here. Enough bloviating and listen to myself talk. It's always weird when you got your hearing protection. You end up screaming at everything. All right, here we go. Got to keep in mind that this guy has a very, very light trigger. I'm going to be shooting at the lower left-hand diamond. It's right there. Not a thing. Looks just about right. What do we got for velocity? 2974. Woo-woo! It's pretty much right there. Not bad. Flattens the primer just a little bit. GP11 powder. 29.58. That's moving that bullet along pretty damn good. Yep. That is right there too. 3003. Woo-woo. That is motoring on down the road, isn't it? Definitely is shooting like it means it. 3023. Is that possible? Apparently it is. And this will make a 5-shotter right here. Huh. It's pretty much one hole down there. $3,008. There you go. There's my baseline with the GP11 powder, 55 grains. Now, try the same exact load, 55 grains of Reloader 17. It's about the same. 2980. Unless that drastically changes, this pretty much looks like the two powders generate the same velocities with the same bullet and the same weight of powder. $29.86. I'm going to, both of them were to the left a little bit. I'm going to give them a couple of, give it a couple of clicks to the right. The hell, that last shot wasn't like that group with the GP11 powder. That one was a little bit off the mark. Well, that one windage came right online. 3017. $29.80 again. $29.40. Okay, I'll have to go down and see. $29.83 again. Okay, that was identical velocities to the GP11 powder, but the accuracy was not quite as good, although it wasn't bad either. I mean, I had one that kind of got away. I don't know if that was me or what, but I think overall it didn't quite show the same accuracy, at least not to my mind. Now this is the 57.4 grains of Reloader 17, which would be the same volume as 55 grains of GP11 powder. I expect this velocity to go up a bit. Well, 3065. That thing's humming along pretty darn good there, huh? Right in there. 3122. Yikes. It's not really doing anything that's not excessively flattening the primer or anything. If it'll hold a good group here, this might be a darn good load. Yeah. Pretty much going right there. 3093. 3093. That's hauling ass along. It's a 178 grain bullet. I mean, granted, it's not heavy, but it's not a light bullet either. Oh yeah. There ain't nothing wrong with that. 3101. That's moving. $30.95. I tell you what, this load right here with the CLDX bullet, this would be a elk or deer destroying instrument, but you wouldn't be taking the Gruning hunting. Pretty good. They're all pretty much right in there. Like I say, I mean, I got it pretty well rested, but it's still not like it's a bench rest. I still have to drive the damn rifle. 3075. That's not too bad. I like that. That's a good load. And it shot a good group. I like it. I like that a lot. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5 more shots, because that's what I have a few more rounds left. This is the GP11 powder again. Well, here's the very first shots with the Gruning 178 grain Hornady ELDXs and 55 grains of GP11 powder. Same up here. Of course, I had a couple shots. I did a couple clicks of elevation, brought it right up to there, and then the last one was over here, so I must have thrown it a little bit. Now this is the 55 grains of Reloader 17 with the same bullet, and it kind of, this one was showing about, this is showing same velocity, around 3,000 foot a second, same as the GP11 powder, and had one getaway there. I don't know if it felt like a good shot, but it's not too bad, not terrible. And then this is with the 57.4 grains, and this is showing about 3,100 foot a second, and that shot a pretty good group right there. That's a pretty good load.